second of the two Japan Cup races. This is the third round of the championship. We started at Sugo, we went to Fuji, we're here at Suzuka, and it will all end at Okayama at the end of August. But right here, right now, the home of the Japanese Grand Prix. Clearly, with all the dancing and the giant lion down at the head of the grid, it's a hot environment here to go racing, and the drivers will all be looking at what lies ahead. We're settling in now, this combination of GT3, GTC and GT4 runners, all with their own distinctive classes here at Suzuka. Racing almost underway, the cars on the grid, the Japanese dancers doing a fantastic job, the flags fluttering, a welcome breeze because it's a very hot day, 35 degrees air temperature. It's like opening the oven door when you step to the outside. What it's like in those racing cockpits remains to be seen, but it won't be that pleasant. However, with an hour of racing ahead, all is very good. But let's go down and join the pole sitters. And she's got Daisuke Yamawaki, who's out of the car. Shinichi Takagi will be starting the K-Tunes Ferrari with Amy.
So with the guy who did a great job yesterday, taking over all the cars because he had to start from all the way in the back. 山脇選手、昨日はね、残念ながら最後尾スタートだったんですけども、ニョキニョキと抜いて P2 で終わるという素晴らしいスティントでしたけれども、今日、高木選手がまたこの K チューンバトル、何秒ちぎって帰ってくれますかね。
いや、どうなんですかね。あんまりそこは考えてないので、なんとも言えないんですけど、安全にバトルをしてもらえればと思います。
じゃあ逆に山脇選手は何秒で帰ってきてくれれば P1 狙えると思いますか。
15秒。はい。
高木選手聞いてますかね。じゃあ15秒目指して、はい、
15秒ペナルティーがあるので、こっち10秒なんで、なんとなくそれぐらいかなっていう。あとはチャンピオンシップのポイントがそろそろ意識しないといけない状況になってきてるんで、そっちを意識してっていう感じですかね。はい。
では熱いレースになると思いますので頑張ってください。So he is wishing that Takagi will come back with a 15-second to the behind car, and then he can be, he can just do his stint on his own thing, and then hopefully they land on P1. That's what he says. But it is a hot race, and they are also looking forward to the championship. So he wants him to come back safely, so that they can do a good job today as well as yesterday.
Thank you, Amy, and thank you to Daisuke Yamawaki. And talking of the championship, let's take a look at this explainer by Tom Hornsby and Suki Kanemata.
Suzuka kicks off part 2 of the 2024 Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia powered by AWS and Japan Cup campaigns this weekend, when 47 cars tackle the latest SRO GT PowerTour event. 32 of them contest races 7 and 8 of Fanatec GT Asia, while Japan Cup's 15 entries are split between GT3, GT4 and GTC.
前回の富士大会では98号車 K チューンズレーシングの山脇大輔選手と高木真一選手が連勝し、総合ランキングで首位に浮上。ライバルの9号車リンゴレーシングは今大会もアムクラスへの参戦となることから98号車がさらにタイトル争いにおけるアドバンテージを広げる可能性があります。
55号車のマクラーレンは総合ランキングでは少し差が開いているものの GT3 アムクラスでは全勝を記録。クラスランキング2位の7号車とは31ポイント差がついています。 GT4 クラスでは4戦中3チームが優勝を挙げていることから激しいランキング争いになっています。
39号車トヨタガズーレーシングインドネシアのハリダルママノッポ選手が2勝をマークし、シーズン折り返し時点の現在ランキングトップに立っています。しかし50号車と前回大会で優勝を飾った82号車は同率2位で、首位とはわずか7ポイント差です。47号車 D ステーションレーシングは今大会 GT4 クラスへと転換したことからクラス合計5メーカーが参戦することとなりました。16号車もメルセデス AMG からフェラーリ 488GTC へと変更したことから GTC クラスのエントリーも1台増しとなります。
Fanatec GT Asia is also at a critical phase of its season. Just 2 points separate the leading contenders, while 11 cover the top 4 crews following Fuji 2 weeks ago. Reigning champion Anthony Liu and his co-driver Alessio Picarillo had a steady start to the year, but vaulted into the championship lead with victory in race 2. Absolute Porsche nosed ahead of fellow Fuji winners Bob Yuan and Liu Yi Hongli, while Origin teammate Lu Wei dropped from first to third, 10 points behind Liu and Picarillo. Frankie Cheng and Adley Fong lie 4th overall, but a quirk of the class scoring means they actually trail Ishan Pieris and Tanat Satyendhirikul in the silver standings by just 3 points. Akash Nandi and James Yu are 3rd overall. In Silverram, Hirobon and Yu Kanemaru trimmed Yuan and Yi's lead at Fuji. However, Go Jigen's Nissan remains more than a victory behind the Origin Porsche. Andre Canard and Finn Gerschitz of Ferrari lies 3rd. AM Championship leader David Chipto Biantoro also enjoys a reasonable advantage over his nearest rivals Andrew McPherson and Ben Porter. 14 points separate the Garage 75 Ferrari from AMAX Porsche, while the Spirit of FFF Racing's Audi lies 2 points further back in 3rd. Elsewhere, young Anglo-Japanese racer Dougie Bolger has joined Yudai Uchida in VSR's new look number 63 pairing. Qualifying and both races are live on SRO's GT World YouTube channel this Saturday and Sunday.
J スポーツでは日本語の実況解説で放送されます。
So that's the explainer. Let's go back down to the grid to join Bingo Racing, and Amy has caught up with Shinji Takai.
武井選手、昨日ねスタートすごい素晴らしいスタートだったんですけれども、シフトの問題でもうピットインしてしまったところなんですけれども、車は治りましたか？
そうですね、シフトもマニュアルミッション本体ではなくて電装系だったので、昨日一生懸命メカニックが復旧してくれて、ただ本番ね何があるかはわからないんですけど、今のところ、しっかり直していただいて、今日高見選手がね昨日の僕の悔しさをね晴らしていい走りで戻ってきてくれるのかなと思ってます。
そしてですね、周りを囲む車なんですけど、皆さんサクセスペナルティがあるので有利かと思うんですが、
いやー、だけどね、なんかやっぱり とはいえすごい強いチームなので、僕らもミスしないようにやらないと、難しいかなと。とにかく頑張ります。
頑張ってください。応援してます。
ありがとうございます。
So yes, the mechanics did a great job fixing the car. It was more of like an electric problem with the car, and it wasn't too bad. So the car is fixed, and here he has a lot of faith for his partner Motoki, and is hoping to, get along with the rhythm with the other cars. But he as well, on his stint, he will try his best and then see where they land.
Thank you. That was Shinji Takai. His teammate Motoki will start from 3rd on the grid in the Bingo Racing Corvette C7, the car that makes the greatest rumble of all of this field. The car that won yesterday is car number 96. K-Tunes Racing make life complicated. They're running this Lexus, the Ferrari that's on pole position, and also a Toyota in GT4, but this is the one that Morio Nitta soaked up so much pressure at the end of yesterday's race to hang on to take the victory with his teammate Kazunori Suenaga, and maybe he can do it all over again today. So just remember, Lexus at the front row of the grid, right at the tail actually, is the sister car. But I tell you what, let's have a look at the highlights of the first race that ended up with that victory for Morio Nitta. It was action-packed from start to finish. The opening Japan Cup race, good start from Bingo Racing, getting their Corvette into the lead of the race and keeping it there ahead of the Comet Racing Ferrari. 3rd place, even considering a look at 2nd place, was Tadao Uematsu in his McLaren at this point. The first 3 started to pull clear, but the car that one needed to look for started in 9th. It was the K-Tunes Racing Ferrari, put back because overtaking a car during a yellow flag period. Up front it was fast and furious, and then suddenly just furious if it was Bingo Racing, because the starting driver had no proper drive. Shinji Takai had to limp back a gearbox problem in his Corvette, and that left some the others fighting on the track and his crew trying to fix his car. This was the moment where Comet Racing, unfortunately, their driver Yorikatsu Suzuka guessed the wrong way behind a GT4 car, and we had Tadao Uematsu sweeping by. Then it was all nice and clean in the pits, clean and clear, and look how close it was. Uematsu coming back out just as the Comet Racing Ferrari, now with Yusuke Yamasaki at the wheel, swept into the lead of the race. But the story of the race was the progress of the 2 K-Tunes Racing cars, notably Morio Nitta putting on a phenomenal performance in the Lexus, but as he worked his way onto the tail of the Comet Racing Ferrari, then past it, look at that, easy move for him. He knew the sister car was coming, the K-Tunes Racing Ferrari was starting to close in. Soon they were 1st and 2nd. Almost a slide off the track there as Shinichi Takagi was closing in. fantastic scrap in GT4, seesawing, but always it was 38 just in front, the Wakayama Toyota, despite everything Wise Racing was throwing with its BMW. But up front, Morio Nitta was chased, closed on, caught, but never passed. 0.8 of a second between them. K-Tunes Racing first and second, but this time it was this car, the Lexus, that took the overall victory. And so hats off tonight to Kazunori Suinagi and Morio Nitta. Join us again tomorrow. Well, great racing yesterday. What will we expect today? Well, I can tell you what, we'll expect some more interviews down the grid. So let's go down and find out who Amy has got with her now.
落合選手、昨日ね、もう念願のウィンだったんですけど、おめでとうございました。で、今日もね、末広選手、こちらのポジション P1 からのスタートになりますけれども、どんなレース期待しますか？
そうですね、もう末広選手にガンと広げてもらって、もう僕はぬるま湯に使ったレースをしようと考えております。はい、
昨日もね、セカンドスティント末広選手、加納選手とすごい猛烈なバトル、かっこよかったですね。
はい、かっこよかったですね。はい、もうピットの中ですごいもう歓声上がっててよかったでした。
今日もね、ウィンを目指して頑張ってください。期待してます。
ありがとうございます。
So yes, he really wants that Suihiro comes back with a huge margin so that he can cruise in the car like sitting in a bath. That's how he put it. And also, he looked so great racing with Kano, former GT partner. So he's looking forward to see that today again.
Thank you very much, Amy. And from the grid's fastest blonde-haired driver, that's Toshiyuki Ochai, former Lamborghini champion a couple of times over. Now I talked to K-Tunes Racing, running 3 different cars. This is their one in GT4. It's at the very tail of the grid. Their Supra, similar car to the one that Toshiyuki Ochai will be driving. But up front, on pole position, it's Shinichi Takagi who'll be kicking off before handing over to his teammate Daisuke Yamawaki. They really are the form pair, but obviously yesterday they started way down the order, put back to 9th on the grid and fought back to very nearly taking victory. Tadeo Uematsu will be doing the whole race on his own. He likes to drive solo in his McLaren and had a really impressive run in the early stages of yesterday's race when he was very comfortable in 3rd place. That became 2nd when the Bingo Racing Corvette had its problems. That at least has been fixed. But what can we expect from the solo driver today in the McLaren? Well, let us wait and see. He's starting his car from 5th on the grid, but his main aim is to get points for the amateur section of the championship. And in that sector, GT3 Am, he'll be competing against Comet Racing. The car immediately 1 place further up the grid, carrying one of our onboard cameras, is the number 7 Comet Racing Ferrari, and it should be kicked off by Yusuke Yamasaki today. Also in GT3 class, as I said, we've got GT3, GTC and GT4. Atsushi Tanaka will start the run-up sports Nissan. That also competes in Super GT. But up the brightest car on the field, starting 3rd, the Bingo Racing Corvette. It will be Motoki who kicks off, and then he'll hand over in the second half of this 1-hour race to Shinji Takai, and they will also be offering us a view forward from the cockpit of their rumbling Chevrolet Corvette C7. So looking down from the front, the cars will be led off by the safety car sometime soon. We've got typical GT3 mix of different manufacturers. Ferrari on the front row alongside a Lexus. The second row is a Corvette alongside another Ferrari. There's an Aston Martin. Normally D-Station Racing compete in GT3 in the Japan Cup, but one of their GT3 Vantages was damaged, so they've had to fish around in the garage back near Fuji Speedway and dug out a GT4 example. So the same duo of drivers in 47, Tatsuya Hoshino and Kenji Hama, will be racing, but as they were yesterday, they'll be in the GT4 class. Still great racing for them to enjoy, though. Wise Racing, Masaki Kano will kick off today. Reverse order from yesterday, sharing with Yuki Fujii, and he was in the thick of the battle, but eventually ended up 2nd in GT4 yesterday. And as Amy mentioned, Wakayama Toyota, that car number 38, was the one that won the class. Seita Nanaka, he missed the round 2 weeks ago at Fuji, but he's back on board with Haridama Manopo. Haridama, the only non-Japanese driver in the Japan Cup, but all drivers from Southeast Asia are welcome. Maybe we'll add some more for next year. We've still got the final 2 races at Okayama at the end of August, but this race, this 1-hour race, will conclude their pair here at Suzuka. So the safety car leads them round, the Ferrari and the Lexus, followed by the Corvette, and the second of the Ferraris make their way down the slope into turn one. Lots of gradient change on the Suzuka circuit. Leading car in GTC is that bright yellow Ferrari coming through. That's a 488 Challenge car. And in fact, the team running at Absa Motorsport was supposed to be running a Mercedes AMG GT4, but that got damaged on Friday. So here is the grid order with Shinichi Takagi on pole position, the K-Tunes Racing Ferrari, alongside the team's Lexus in the hands of yesterday's winner, Morio Nitta. Row number 2, it's Motoki kicking off in the Bingo Racing Corvette, alongside Yusuke Yamasaki in the grey Comet Racing Ferrari, both in the AM category. Then Tadao Uematsu, who'll be in his car all 1 hour long. He doesn't have a co-driver for his McLaren. Alongside him in 6th place, Atsushi Tanaka in the run-up sports Nissan he shares with Masaki Nishikawa. 7th on the grid, leading car in GTC, and it's Masataka Inoue and Takeshi Suehiro alongside. Takeshi, though, is top in GT4. The second GTC entry, second of 2, is Makoto Haga, who will also race solo in his Gamma 83 Racing Porsche. And alongside him, Daiki Fujiwara in the Sunrise Boulevard Porsche Cayman. Row number 6, and it's Masaki Kano, who shares the Wise Racing BMW car number 50, that is, with Yuki Fuji, who will do the second half of the race. And alongside him, Seita Nonaka, very close in 3rd position in GT4 yesterday. He will hand over the Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia Supra to Maridama Manopo. And then Kenji Hama, the D-Station Racing GT4 Aston Martin, and alongside him, Hero from JBR. We'll talk more of them in a little while. They've got a 570S McLaren. And last of all, Masahiko Kageyama, the K-Tunes Racing Toyota as a Supra in GT4, brings up the rear of this 15-car grid. So the field is snaking its way, getting heat into the tyres on what is already a very hot day as they follow the safety car leading the group around on this formation lap. Heat in the tyres, heat in the cockpits. This is the view looking forward from the car that will start 3rd on the grid with Motoki at the wheel of the Bingo Racing Corvette. Yesterday they had an electrical problem that affected gear change and they ended up with a non-score. Now bear in mind, a non-score will hurt in any championship, but when you have only the 8 rounds, it really does not help your championship challenge. However, for all the drivers today, just focusing on what lies ahead. An hour of racing. This is the start of coming to the end of the first formation lap behind the safety car. Now starting the second, but the clock is beginning its count already. It'll be one further lap at the end of the second lap behind the formation. The safety car, the Lexus, will peel into the pit lane, and then the drivers will come around to make their formal start of the race in a 2x2 formation as wished for by the race director. Comet Racing car number 7, it's the light grey, dove grey Ferrari 296 GT3, and Yusuke Yamasaki is sharing that with Yorikatsu Sujiko. Pretty sort of muted engine though, full of intent though. Field working its way up through the S's. Fabulous stretch of tarmac. Wonderful if you were just doing a sprint here on your own, but even better when you've got a pack of cars around you. Any imprecision really comes with a bite, has fangs. Car number 39. It's the Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia entry. Haridama Manopo will do the second part of the race, but Seita Nonaka, his Japanese teammate, will kick off in that. At the end of yesterday's race in GT4, we had 3 cars nearly nose to tail at the end of that, but it was won by the number 38 Wakayama Toyota yesterday, run for them by Hojust Racing, shared by Toshiyuki Ochai, who we heard from on the grid, and Takeshi Suehiro. Can they do it again? 1 hour between now and then. As the field works its way behind the safety car on this second formation lap at a bated pace, but just enough to get the engine, you know, hopefully running at the right temperature to get the tyres with enough grip for the drivers, because when they're released, the load that gets put on them when they turn into turn 1 and turn 2, really, they need some grip to go with the cornering that they're requiring from their rubber. Conditions fine. Early morning cloud has burnt off, so it's a better day than yesterday, but it's very hot indeed. And the moment the clouds do come over, it actually helps reduce the glare. It's very, very bright here at Suzuka this weekend. It's a factor for all the drivers. You spend as little time out in the sunshine as you possibly can to keep yourself fresh for the racing. Sunrise Boulevard have really enjoyed their time in the Japan Cup this year. This is the first year it runs as a separate entity. It used to run as a part of the GT World Challenge, as part of the Fanatec GT Asia series, but this year it's got its own races, and in fact it had its own race meeting without GT World Challenge Asia this year. That was the opening 2 races at Sugo a while back. Then it joined the big championship swing, the circus if you'd like, 2 weeks ago at Fuji International Speedway, and here it's absolutely on the main billing for a second time at Suzuka, and Okayama will be its 3rd time, where all these cars are combined, nearly 50 GT cars all combined, descending on the circuit. So for GT fans, these are rich days. And right, the Japan Cup, we are underway. Already 3 and a bit minutes has it passed, with this second formation lap running alongside the clock, but the safety car is going to pull off just about now. Just got to get through the Casio triangle, go to the final corner, and when the corner starts turning right, it'll turn a little more tightly to drivers right. Doing that now. So the pole starting Ferrari, pole position for Shinichi Takagi, and pulling up alongside should be Morio Nitta, who took victory in yesterday's race. The first of the 2 Japan Cup races. They're waiting, and it's quite a quick flick coming up, I think. You can sense the group behind, waiting. Only now does the light go green. I think they guessed it and then had to unguess that guess. But Shinichi Takagi leads down the hill. Morio Nitta tucks in behind, both from K-Tunes Racing, Ferrari from Lexus and Bingo Racing, but Matoki hangs on to 3rd place and makes more noise with the rumbling Corvette than every other car combined. And in 4th place, Yorikatsu Tsujiko hanging on in his Ferrari, then a tiny bit of a gap back to Tadej Uematsu's McLaren. Then the last of the GT3 cars is the Nissan from Run Up Sports. That's car number 360. Neat, tidy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all of them through GTC and GT4. We've got their 2 class leaders. Number 16, Masataka Inoue leading GTC for ASRO Motorsport in the yellow Ferrari, but overtaking very early on indeed from Seita Nonaka, who are now riding on board, and he's just picked up 1 position. And about to be attacked back by Sunrise Boulevard, but he's just got the TGR, the black, red and white livery Toyota Supra through. And in the background, Masaki Kano. That's a tight little battle. And it's typical GT4 mix, Toyota, Porsche and BMW. Very, very tight at the front as Morio Nitta tries to hang on to his teammate, albeit in a different car, Shinichi Takagi. Middle order is where the real battling is. This is battling for 2nd place in GT4. Bear in mind, of course, the class leader started ahead of the rest of them, and that's car number 38 with Takeshi Suehiro at the wheel, and he is pulling clear. But this battle for 2nd class, really very good indeed. But 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, all the GT3 runners together, from the race leading Morio Nitta driven Lexus to the 6th place Run Up Sports Nissan GTR Nismo. That's looking a little busier today, a little less off the tail of the GT3 class. GTC being led easily by the ASRO Motorsport Ferrari, and likewise a good lead for Wakayama Toyota in GT4. 2nd, 3rd and 4th in the GT4 class are here. Toyota from Porsche Cayman, from BMW M4 GT4 driven by Masaki Kano. End of the 1st lap, run at full racing speed with no safety car ahead of them. 1.1 seconds is the advantage the 98 Ferrari has over the sister. Sorry, it's swapped around because Takagi's gone ahead of Morio Nitta now. But the Ferrari ahead of the Lexus. And not only got in front, but nearly 1.2 seconds clear on the start-finish line. And the race leaders just going into the first of the Degners, the first of those right-handers. The GT4 field coming up through the Dunlop curves behind them. In fact, they're just going through the S's at the moment. Such is the progress and the relative pace of the GT3 runners. There is the change at the front. The car started on pole position, being challenged by Morio Nitta. In fact, Nitta was the driver who was challenging. Nitta is the driver who hasn't managed to get in front. Good rumble again from the Lexus. Morio Nitta giving chase, Shinichi Takagi leading and eking out an advantage, just gaining a bit here, a bit there, but actually the first part of this lap, Morio Nitta is fighting back. He made his bid to take the lead at the start, didn't make it work. Shinichi Takagi hangs on in the lead in the Ferrari. And gradually they're dropping Motoki, who's running third in the Bingo Racing Corvette. Look, there come the first two, covered by 1.2 seconds. There or thereabouts, looks pretty similar to when they finished the first flying lap there. The gap opening out to the third place Corvette on Bingo Racing. Drivers don't really need their lights ablaze at the moment. There's the third place Corvette. Listen for the rumble. Music to the ears. Fourth, fifth and sixth, almost nose to tail. These are the last three cars in the GT3 class in this multi-class race in the Japan Cup, but they're having good scrap. The Comet Racing Ferrari, the Team Machina McLaren, Tadej Uematsu runs solo, and the run-up sports Nissan having a better run than it did yesterday, staying right in the hunt in the background of the shot there. Atsushi Tanaka at the wheel. Fastest lap of the race so far, just under 2 minutes and 3 seconds. That's set by the race-leading Ferrari. The best lap managed by the Morio Nitta in third place is about 0.8 of a second slower. So you can tell with that margin advantage early on, the lead will grow. It's out to 1.948 seconds, but if you can gain half a second a lap, that will soon escalate. The gap continues to open out between the third place Motoki-driven Corvette and this car, the car in fourth, that's got a real little scrap on its tail. It's the Comet Racing Ferrari, car number 7, unusual pale grey livery, but looks very attractive in that. That's Yorikatsu, sorry, I beg your pardon, it's Yusuke Yamasaki at the wheel. Tadej Uematsu now coming under ever more pressure from the run-up sports Nissan behind. And behind the Nissan in 6th place overall, there's a gap of about 7 seconds, and it's growing all the time over the better placed of the GTC championship class cars, and that's the ABSA Motorsport Ferrari, a car Dragoon brought in this weekend because they damaged one of their own other team cars. Yeah, the best battle in the field is this one for 4th, 5th and 6th places overall, but I must say Yamasaki is looking quite comfortable in that. I shouldn't say that, because as soon as I say that he'll lock up, but he's running in 4th place in the Comet Racing Ferrari. Tadej Uematsu, who drove so well yesterday, one little slip up or push from someone, he was off the track, he lost ground and position. Right, this is the car I was talking about. ABSA Motorsport came here intending to compete with a Mercedes they'd used earlier in the year. That got crashed in testing, so that had to be moved aside, the Mercedes AMG. Instead of racing in that class, they then brought out a GTC class Ferrari, a 488 challenge car that would have raced in one of the Japanese Ferrari series in previous years. But still 4th place in the hands of Yamasaki. Tadej Uematsu pushing very hard in the McLaren, and closing up little by little is Atsushi Tanaka in the run-up sports. Well, that was a moment, an unusual place to pass. We saw Alessio Picariello doing it just as the S's feed into the Dunlop curve. That was the moment that that position changed. Tadej Uematsu, yep, very positive, up 1 position and up into 4th place overall. But you, again and again, at the S's, if you make a slight slip up, you have to maybe come off the throttle. If the car behind has got the balance it wants, it will pounce, and that's precisely what happened there. Ponos Racing crew looking around, see if there's any information they can give one of the drivers in the field that they're helping. Great big transporter in the paddock, very impressive paddock setup, must be said. So Comet Racing just needs to settle down. It's just lost the position, Yamasaki, but he can't relax because right on his tail he's got the run-up sports Nissan that's looking very, very busy indeed, and may yet, looks as though it's faster. He's just got to plot his course, because now the McLaren's got through into 4th place. That's starting to edge clear in the hands of Tadej Uematsu. At the start of the lap he was half a second down on Yamasaki in the number 7 Ferrari, but he's already got ahead and built an equivalent margin that is seemingly stretching with every corner. Two very different engine notes. I was just listening to the Comet Racing Ferrari 296 as he accelerated away from the Casio Triangle. Quite a muted engine, but you know, full of intent. But the rumble of the Nissan was certainly a very, very different engine. However, good, better engine sound or not, that Nissan still needs to find its way past to be happy. Outright leader though, very good job from Shinichi Takagi, driving that number 8 K-Tunes Racing Ferrari. His advantage at the start of this lap was out to 3.4 seconds. Last time around he gained 0.7 of a second. Morio Nitta, yesterday's winner, can do nothing about them right now, but he's just got to keep it clean, save his tyres as well as he can to make them sweet all the way to the mandatory pit stop. Now, Bingo Racing had their problems yesterday, but today running a whole lot better. And this is leading the AM class of GTC. The first two cars are just of GT3, are just regular GT3 entries. But in the AM class, it's Bingo Racing leading the way. So when I say the regular entries, I mean the ones that are running in the Pro-Am class at the top of the championship. But the pit garage for Bingo Racing is as colourful as the car, with all sorts of transformer images, but I think this Corvette's just popular for so many reasons. Fabulous noise, very quick indeed, but also it does look great in the combinations of red, yellows, oranges and blues. The sort of flame pattern down the flanks of that Corvette looks the business. And absolutely sounds the business. Can't beat a V8, they say. This little battle for 5th place is where it's at. It's where the real tussling is going on. And I must say that Yusuke Yamasaki is being put under a lot of pressure. He's just actually relieved a little bit of it. But the run-up sports Nissan full of intent today. And Atsushi Tanaka may yet be able to pick his way by to get up to 5th place. While they're battling, Tadeo Imatsu's McLaren that overtook Comet Racing Ferrari just a couple of laps ago has picked up its skirts and run clear. Not to be found in the same shots. They'd already built 4 seconds over this scrapping duo, and the more they fight, the more he's able to escape in 4th place overall in his McLaren. And Suzuka really is a circuit with twists in it, so once you gain a handful of seconds, you can become out of sight for a lot of the time, out of the line of sight. You could actually just see then indication of it going across the front of the shot in front of the camera, but out of the shot of the chasing Comet Racing Ferrari and the run-up sports Nissan. Up to the hairpin for the 7th time. Just trying to think where on the circuit the Nissan would have an advantage. These cars, again, covered by a balance of performance formula that SRO brings out here, calculated with many, many sums and many, many studies. And the idea is that the time that any manufacturer's cars could achieve is a target time, a fixed target time. They're all calibrated against that. And of course, your car may achieve it by being quick down the straights and slow around the corners, or vice versa, or some way in between. But the good thing is it really does balance the performance of the cars that compete in Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia and in this, the Japan Cup. Track limit warnings starting to come in, and the car that's running in 6th place, that run-up sports Nissan Nismo GT-R, is under investigation at the moment. It's getting the warnings. Warnings you can accrue, but you don't want to get too many because they can lead to time penalties. GT4, it's been a real stroll in the park, because number 38 is sitting on a lead of 6 seconds. The 38 Toyota from Wakayama Toyota. Takeshi Suehiro at the wheel at the moment, and we heard from his teammate Toshiyuki Ochai down the grid, and he's going to get that car in good position. With a good advantage leading GT4. GT4 is split into GT4 Silver Am, and he's leading that class. GT4 Am is led by Kenji Hama, the 47 D Station Racing Aston Martin Vantage GT4. But the closest scrap on the track, as our race leader is 4.5 seconds clear in his Ferrari from Mario Nitta's Lexus, is this one, the battle for 5th place. At one point it was a three-way battle for 4th place, but Tadeo Uematsu pulled from the middle of the grouping to the front and then pulled clear, easily clear. He's 4 seconds clear of this scrap. And going very well indeed. Yesterday it was very tight at the top, but Mario Nitta prevailed. But today you see he just simply doesn't have the pace of the K-Tunes Racing Ferrari crew. So Shinichi Takagi pulling ever further clear. Yeah, the race leader's getting on for well over 0.6 of a second on the chasing Mario Nitta. This lap may have gained even more than that. Crosses the line with an advantage now of 5.5 seconds, so it's opening out all the time. No change given to Run Up Sports Nissan crew. They're just stuck behind the Comet Racing Ferrari, battling for 5th place, but falling away from the race leader all the time. But don't forget, we've got the mandatory pit stops that come when the clock at the top of our screen says 35 minutes remaining until 25 minutes remain. That will be when the window is open and the drivers will change over. So how balanced is your driver pairing? That's the question in many ways. So many GT races, you've got one driver is notably quick and their teammate not quite as much. So if you've got a very good average across your two, that's quite easy to read where you are relative to the opposition. Wonderful shot looking down through Suzuka's S's. Just looks sensational when any sort of car is competing there, particularly back in the days, in the late 1990s, when McLaren was, late 80s, I beg your pardon, was bringing cars like the McLaren MP4 5B. Saw a replica down in the paddock today, albeit a replica race livery on a little Honda road car, but it is just a sensational stretch of track. Turns 3, 4, 5 and 6. Right, first to second, 5.5 seconds between them. In the Japan Cup, we have GTC, and we have two classes of GTC. We've got GTC AM, that's what Makoto Haga is driving in, and also GTC Pro-Am, which is the Ferrari from ABSA Motorsport. But the amateur driver, Makoto Haga, here he is. 12th out of the 15 runners. In fact, the good news is, after nearly 9 laps of racing, in fact now 9 laps of racing, as the race leading Ferrari crosses the finish line, all the cars still running. In fact, Makoto Haga is going better and better. He's just picked up his pace, scored his best lap of the race last time around, and at this pace he should start to catch the Wise Racing BMW M4. Just see it going out of shot ahead of him. Masaki Kano at the wheel. There it is, just crossing through the first of the Degners, second of the Degners coming up. Another right-hander, slightly tighter than the first of the duo. Corners under the bridge, blinking as they come back out into the full sunshine and up to the hairpin. So that is for the target for Makoto Haga, to try and catch the number 50 BMW running in GT4. And Makoto is one of the few drivers who's going solo, so he'll do all of this hour behind the cockpit. Right. The gap between the 98 Ferrari from K-Tunes Racing, driven by Shinichi Takagi, and the chasing 96 K-Tunes Racing, this time Lexus, with Kazunori Suenaga. Every time it looks though the chaser is closing, it doesn't quite happen, so the lead 5.7 seconds, now 5.8 seconds, as the first third of the lap is completed. Fastest lap of the race, not too surprisingly, to the driver that's pulling away in the lead. It's only when you get the long shots you can see the heat haze the cameras pick up on days when it's as super toasty as it is today. 35 degrees air temperature, and that was hit quite early this morning, just staying there. So for Shinichi Takagi, he'll be thinking, well, you know, the pit window will open in just under 3 minutes' time. Do I want to come in early and hand over to Daisuke Yamawaki, or am I having such a good time as I pull clear that I will remain out on the circuit? K-Tunes Racing first, second and third in their shop, but the middle one is a GT4 Toyota the team runs that's running at the back of the pack, 15th out of 15th. The car we're looking at now is the third of those K-Tunes car. This one, a Lexus RCF GT3, wonderful rumble as Mario Nitta accelerates up through the hills, going left, right. Go quite wide here if you possibly can. There, lovely, beautiful line up the hill, but unfortunately not a line that's helping him catch the race leader, to catch Takagi in the team's sister car, the team's Ferrari, because he's now 6.5 seconds back. Last lap lost another 0.7 of a second. Track limit warning for 96, that's their first warning. That's the car in second place. That's the K-Tunes Racing Lexus. At 82, second warning, running wide on the circuit, and that's the Sunrise Boulevard Porsche 718 Cayman, which is running third in the GT4 class, just ahead of Masaki Kano. Kano continues to be caught little by little, a 1/10 of a second here, a 1/10 of a second there, by Makoto Haga, who's running second in GTC. But this battle on screen is one that is entertaining, but I'd like to see a few sort of little jousting manoeuvres, a little dive here, a flick there, and now maybe for the first time just trying to unseat this Comet Racing Ferrari. The run-up sports Nissan driver maybe becoming a little frustrated. Atsushi Tanaka, it was good to see him at least starting to put a few question marks, a few queries in the mind of the car that's sitting in 5th place ahead of him. Down through the gears from the Ferrari, number 7. Started in 4th, got overtaken very early on by Tadeo Uematsu's McLaren. That has since pulled clear. For this, the sight and more importantly the sound of the Comet Racing Ferrari. But it's busy. What you couldn't see when you had that forward view through the windscreen was what was immediately behind. And the simple answer is a much taller, heavier car, but one with loads of boost and power. It's the run-up sports Nissan Nismo. And the pit window is open, nanoseconds ago, and Comet Racing decide that they will avail themselves of a break for the driver. So Yusuke Yamasaki is the first to blink. He'll hand over that 296 GT3 to Yorikatsu Sujiko. And the good thing is that the Japan Cup, you don't have to rush your pit stops. They're given a very generous minimum time, so there's no advantage in getting them completed and going back out. You'd simply get a penalty. Your minimum time is timed from pit in, includes the pit stop, and only when you leave the pits does your time get set. Like a good standard pit stop. Nothing the driver can do apart from adjust their belts a little bit, check their water bottles working. But if you're doing a driver change, then it's all done in more speed. But still, you see, you don't have to rush too much because they've got this minimum pit stop time, and there's no point rushing out before because you'll be penalised and brought back in. So the pit window has been availed by one team, by Comet Racing. They're in that battle for 5th place. They will fall down the order a little, but maybe, just maybe, they'll have had a better in and out. The pit stops should all be the same time, but then again, it's about not making mistakes when you come in. So our race leader, Shinichi Takagi, that dark red Ferrari from K-Tunes Racing, working its way onto another lap, 6 seconds clear of Mario Nitta's pace, setting Lexus from across the garage at K-Tunes Racing. Right, Masaki Kano has come in relatively early in the pit window to hand over the number 50 Wise Racing BMW M4 GT4 to Yuki Fujii. Tyre changes continuing apace. And it's a question of when our race leading and race chasing Ferrari and Lexus choose to come and make a pit stop. More cars from the GT4 class coming into park and have their pit stop. Not park up, not retire, don't worry. But the 97 K-Tunes Racing Supra, started by Masahiko Kageyama, will go across to Yoshihika Nagai. Now, JBR, Japanese Bronze Racing, team owned by World Endurance Championship racer Tomonobu Fujii, and he has this very, very specialist private members club, if you will, in Tokyo, where they have world-beating race sims. And the drivers he's brought out to play so far this year are all members of the club. They've proved themselves proficient enough. They're on the sim, and they're being instructed. Even, you know, this is like the engineer talking. It's probably Tomonobu passing his knowledge across. If they're a judge good enough, they get out and do some full metal laps on proper circuits. And this weekend he's brought another 2 new faces to the mix to drive the McLaren 570S GT4, a driver who likes to be known just as Hero, and another club member, Mio Katayama. It's a great job, and I've spoken to various people who've been into his private members club, and it is sensational. 2 hours on the sim, and you'll come out with your brain absolutely buzzing. So many inputs. Right, it's a question of when the front runners are going to come in. Will they go on for another lap? They've still got probably 6 minutes until the pit window closes, so they don't need to rush things. They've got time for 2 more laps if they feel like it. But for those that have made the pit stops in GT4 predominantly, they're coming back out onto the circuit, and that's including the Wise Racing BMW M4 GT4. Some of those that pitted very early on include the pale grey Ferrari of Comet Racing. That had tumbled down the order on the time charts at least to outside the top 10, but as others come into pit, it should work its way back up into probably where it was before, 4th, possibly 5th position. More likely 5th, actually. It was running in 5th, being challenged by the 6th place Nissan from Run Up Sports. Taking no risks at all in the lead of the race, sitting on a lead of nearly 8 seconds now, 6 seconds a couple of laps ago. But the K-Tunes Racing Ferrari 296 GT3, Shinichi Takagi going very nicely. His teammate, who we heard from down on the grid, Daisuke Yamawaki, waiting for his turn. But a fair number of the cars in the pit lane at the moment. Makoto Haga, his number 83, Gamma 83 Racing Porsche, up on the stands at the moment. He will not be getting out because he's doing the start of the race and the finish. Greedy, quite frankly, having that much fun on this brilliant circuit. Right, second warning for car number 39 for exceeding track limits, and that is the Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia Supra. So they're going to have to watch exactly what they do in future laps. Any more warnings and things become a whole lot more serious. And time penalties will be added. So the race leader goes on to yet another lap. He's starting lap 15 now. He's got, well, he's still got 4 minutes left on the clock. So with the fastest lap of the race, just north of 2 minutes, you'd expect he could squeak in with 2 more laps. I think 1 more lap to be on the safe side. And then Shinichi Takagi needs to come in. Out of the lead in the GTC class, because it's come into the pits, goes the number 16 Ferrari, Masataka Inoue. He's going to be handing that over to Kiwamu Katayama. Right, this is what it sounds like at the speed limiter on the mighty Bingo Racing Corvette. A real roarer of a car. It's very mellow as it went down at 50 kph, which seems even slower than walking pace when you've been racing on a full-out, all-out circuit like Suzuka. But that's the mandatory pit limit. And you can see with the long shot looking back into the pits just how the pit building shades the track. It's always welcome at a circuit when it's very hot to at least get the shades, suggesting some cooling will be arriving. Now, noisy environment to be in inside a car during a pit stop, a real example. So Matoki is climbing out, and the driver we heard from earlier on, Shinji Takai, hops on board that multi-coloured Corvette. and then the whole pit stop will calm down a bit once the driver is on board. The driver who's got out will turn around and help make sure all the buckles are done up, the belts tightened on the seat belts, and just things like tucking in a drinks bottle straw, other things that can make a real difference, particularly on a hot day like today. And also worth pointing out, two drivers in this race are running solo, so they'll come in for their pit stop, not get out of the car, and then with more heat builds up as it's standing still, will go back out in a new, even hotter environment. But for the car that came in from the lead, comes in from the lead, I beg your pardon, 15 laps will be on the board. Its advantage got out to over 8 seconds. This time just coming down the pit lane to park in front of the K-Tunes Racing trio of garages. That's good. The Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia Supra leads, the Sunrise Boulevard Porsche Cayman leaves, making more space for the K-Tunes Racing Ferrari as it comes up and reports to a standstill in front of its pit garage. And the car that was second, running 8-9 seconds behind, comes in. In fact, even on that lap, lost about 1.25 seconds over the race-leading Ferrari. This one, the car 98 from K-Tunes Racing. So the Lexus is in as well. The race-leading Ferrari came in with the lead. That was all but 10 seconds, 9.981 seconds. That really is an emphasis of how strongly, how well the Ferrari crew had been driving. Sorry, when I say the Ferrari crew, I mean the K-Tunes Racing Ferrari crew, the car that's red and black, and started by Shinichi Takai and finished, hopefully, by Daisuke Yamawaki. After pit stops, you get drivers feeling their way into their new environment, and Yorikatsu Sujiko is doing just that. He took over from teammate Yusuke Yamasaki. So, for our race leader, had that buffer of getting on towards 10 seconds, comes in, hopefully has made a standard pit stop. You can just enjoy the 25 minutes run to the flag, but you know, in temperatures like this, things can go wrong, so one never wants to count one's chickens before they've come home to roost. And I think that's the approach we're seeing from K-Tunes Racing Ferrari. Sometimes it's easier as a driver, as a sports person, to keep your focus 100%. If you drop down to 85, you know, you've left a gap for a possible failure. But I think full charge is the order of the day. They're not going to have too much pressure, I don't think, from Kazunori Suinaga. No disrespect meant at all, but it's a very strong driver lineup in the K-Tunes Racing Ferrari. So much of GT3 racing, of GT racing anywhere in the world, is about not making mistakes, not having a pit stop that's too short, because you'd have to come in again and serve the extra second, plus of course the time you lost coming in for a second time. Don't cross the white lines to go out beyond the edge of the circuit with all four wheels. You will be noticed, and certainly quite a few of the drivers have been identified. They get several warnings, so you don't get thrown out of the race for your first time, but all four wheels over the white line at the edge of the circuit, not only is it dangerous for you, your chances, look, a thin strip of grass, then gravel, then tire wall, so you know the car will be slowed, but your race will be wrecked. Just so neat and tidy. The Ferrari 296 GT3 scored its first big win, taking the Nürburgring 24 Hours last year, and that was just ahead of the Le Mans 24 Hours, the fairy tale centenary event, and Ferrari arrived in hypercar and won that as well. No wonder the 296 GT3 order book has been filling up ever since. Looks a great deal sleeker than its predecessor, the 488, which in its own way was a very sleek car, but it's a much lower nose, just more aerodynamic looking car. More attractive to my eye as well, and certainly a lot of GT racers think so too. That's why they bought them and got teams built up to run them for them. Okay, we will see with all the cars having served their mandatory pit stop. The pit window closed nearly a couple of minutes ago, but they were all well inside that. No crowding today with the 15 starters, so there was space for everybody. Just waiting to see. Oh, well, the gap has gone out. I suggested it had stretched. The number 98 Ferrari for K-Tunes Racing had stretched its advantage over the sister car, the number 96 Lexus, and it certainly has. Before the pit stop, it was a whisker under 10 seconds. End of lap 16, out to 13.3. So it's a question of how quickly Kazunori Suinaga can get into his swing. Might take a lap or two and then see if he can start closing in on the race leader. But he's got a very short, low level of racing experience, Kazunori Suinaga, so he's learning as he goes. Hasn't got years and years under his belt. Now, the number 9 Bingo Racing Corvette looking fantastic and sounding even better in the brilliant, brilliant sunshine. That's running in 3rd place, 4.5 seconds down, and in fact I'd suggest less now, because it's definitely catching up as it goes. Oh yeah, look, he's suddenly got the Lexus in sight, and so Kazunori Suinaga has got a battle on his hands. He's not going to have to wait long. He'd like to wait a long time. He'd like to wait 22 minutes, because there's under 22 minutes left in this race, but that isn't his situation. It's going to come very soon. The Bingo Racing Corvette is being driven comfortably in position, but catching the car ahead, catching the number 96 Lexus. Here's our race leader, Yamawaki, neat, tidy, 2nd place. Well, that's a lap down. That's the GTC class leader. But 2nd place overall is Kazunori Suinaga in the Lexus. But he's being caught hand over fist at the moment. He is being hauled in by the Bingo Racing charge. And it's Shinji Takai at the wheel of the number 9. Wonderful to look at with its livery, far better than some of the works cars, well, to my eye at least. But Shinji's making that go very nicely indeed, and I do think this is going to be the big change in the race. You'd have to suggest that the number 8, 98 K-Tunes Racing Ferrari, started by Shinichi Takagi, now driven by Daisuke Yamawaki, is comfortable in the lead. In fact, its lead has come down a little bit. It was 13 seconds after the pit stops, but now down to 11.5. But the real pace car in the top 3 positions is the one at the background of the shot. Not a real pace car, just a car that's pacey. And that's the Corvette being driven very hard indeed by Shinji Takai. Borrowed time for the Lexus, borrowed time for Kazunori Suinaga. The Bingo Racing Corvette isn't just coming, it's come. It's right onto the tail of the Lexus. Jinking one way, looking another, up to the hairpin they go, and the GTC class leading Ferrari may end up inadvertently obstructing 1, 2, or neither of these cars. Let's take a look. Riding with the Bingo Racing Corvette. Car in front is the one he's trying to catch and pass. Power down, not enough space before Spoon Curve. So still 3rd place for the Corvette. The car that's 2nd is immediately ahead. It's the K-Tunes Racing Lexus RCF. No advantage, just looking to see who can carry more speed through 130R, and in fact a very, very good job done by the Lexus, holding on to 2nd, but under braking. The Bingo's almost in the tail end of that car, almost in the boot, the trunk, whatever you want to call it. And now punchier out of the final corner. It's a downhill run, and you've got a tow. You've got to expect at some stage you're going to be able to jink out and make a move. Only the outside line is going to be offered by the Lexus driver, but a jink to the outside, a dive to the inside. Was it a classic move? They've both gone off, and you know what? The Lexus broke away, and I think the Bingo Racing Corvette had to react accordingly, and they both have gone off. Which is going to rejoin the sooner? Is the Lexus caught in the gravel? I think able to get going, but the Bingo Racing Corvette, right, engine running, trying to find a gear, can't really work out. Right, the Lexus is going in a little bit of, is it in the gravel or just on the tarmac on the outside of the circuit? That means the Comet Racing Ferrari should be able, but was too far back, I think, to sweep through into, yeah, the Comet Racing Ferrari is only arriving in turn 1, so it's moved into 3rd position. The Lexus stays in second, and the car that was challenging for second, the Bingo Racing Corvette, come on, hook it up and get it back on the track. It's got to swing the nose round to the left. And it's just not going. If we got more gearbox problems, you can see lots of using the paddles on the steering wheel, nothing appears to be happening. There was an electronic problem yesterday that cost them their run in the race. They started well, they led the race, and they dropped out of the lead. Now let's take a look. Down the hill they come into turn one. The Corvette goes to the outside, the Lexus is in front. Did the Lexus brake too late and break away, or did he simply react because the Corvette was coming? No, the Corvette dived to the inside. Innocent party was the Lexus, so in a world of fairness, it's only right that he got going rather sooner than the number 9 Corvette. And we have the safety car on the track. The pit window is closed, but the safety car, is it on? No, it's not on the track. I was waiting at pit exit. Well, I'm afraid the Corvette had gone to the outside, then dived to the inside and decided to keep on coming down the inside, and there was a clash between the pair of them, both cars going off, but the Bingo Racing Corvette has got going, and it's running around in, I would suggest, 6th or 7th position. No problems at all. Sorry about jumping to the conclusion the safety car was coming out. I thought the Corvette was still stuck down there and maybe in a place of danger. That was me guessing rather poorly. Right, 98, the Ferrari still leading, now in the hands of the second of the drivers to drive that. That's Daisuke Yamawaki. Everybody has made their driver change, and his lead is suddenly, well, it was comfortable, and it's even more so. It was about 11 seconds when I last looked, but it's going to be much more than that, because when the two cars behind had their clash, it opened out a huge margin between them. I tell you, it is the best part of a third of a lap, the lead now, because the race leading Ferrari is just going into the first of the Degner's about to take the second one. And the car that's giving chase, the number 7 Comet Racing, no, beg your pardon, it's not the Comet Racing Ferrari, that's right, it didn't quite get down to turn 1 before we had the Lexus number 96 from K-Tunes Racing rejoining. They're close together, but they're only climbing up in through the S's now. Now let's I'll tell you what, it's been a little bit busy down in the pits, and let's go down because we've got Amy has caught up with Inui down in after he's done the first stint in the GTC class leader. That's Masataka Inui with Amy.
さあ、井上選手、トラック上ちょっといろいろと起きてますけれども、激しいバトル繰り広げられてます。井上選手、今シーズンは GTC クラスからの参戦ということで、今回急遽、なんですけれども、車も本来だったら AMG なんですが、今走ってるのフェラーリ488チャレンジということで、これもしや先週ここでレースをした車を持って帰ってきたんですかね。
はい、そうです。急遽 AMG がアクシデントで、車両を変更するということで、もうオーナーさんの自宅に実は保管してあるんですけど、自宅から金曜の夜急遽、持ってきて、で参戦することになりました。
ご自宅って関東の方ですよね。はい、
そうです。はい、
金曜日の夜に持ってきて、もうぶっつけ本番。
はい、その説は皆さんご迷惑をおかけして申し訳ありませんでした。
いや、でも素晴らしいドライビングで、どうですか、この鈴鹿サーキットで走るこのフェラーリ488は。
488チャレンジは、実際やるレースは30分だけで、1時間こうやって走らせたことがないっていうところで、データは結構ない中でやってたんですけれども、意外と走れるんだなっていうことが分かったので、今後こうやって GTC クラスが盛り上がっていく可能性がちょっと見えたんじゃないかなって思いました。はい、
じゃあ引き続き片山選手ね、熱い走り応援しましょう。
はい、ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございました。So yes, indeed, they brought the 488 Ferrari back from the Kanto area where the owner has his car in the garage, and that was on Friday. So it was just ready to go on Saturday because they had a race last Saturday and Sunday with the Ferrari Challenge. However, they didn't really test it over 30 minutes, so it is the first time for this car running over 60 minutes, so that's quite a thing. But yeah, they've been enjoying, and let's keep our fingers crossed for Katayama that he will do a great job. Back to you.
Thank you, Amy. Well, still leading the GTC class by just under a minute, 54 seconds over the other car in class, which is Makoto Haga's Gamma 83 Racing Porsche. So really good performance from SRO Motorsports, and Masataka Inoue out of the car and Kiwamu Katayama at the wheel. Right, drive-through penalty being issued to driver of car number 9. That's Shinji Takai, who took over the Bingo Racing Corvette. There it is, and unfortunately that dive down the inside of turn 1 that spun the number 96 K-Tune Racing Lexus was Gnosis, and he will have to serve a drive-through penalty. That will drop it down the order. Already he'd fallen down the order to 5th place, Takai, when it took him a long time to get going again. No such problems with a dozen minutes to go for our race leader, the number 98 K-Tunes Racing Ferrari, and Daisuke Yamawaki. His lead is huge. The next car in line only turning into 130R now, whereas the number 98 Ferrari already just entering the S's. There is the car in second place. From the other side of the garage, not a Ferrari, this a Lexus RCF. And Morio Nitta handed it over to Kazunori Suinaga, who's going well, but he's not got much of an advantage over the Comet Racing Ferrari. There is the pale grey Ferrari, 3rd position overall, and of course the reason the gap came down so much is it took quite a while after the Lexus was spun around between turns 1 and 2 to get it hooked up, to get it back on the track and get going again. But at least in 2nd position. Can it stay there? Well, we'll find out. 11.5 minutes remain. Of this car, Bingo Racing, drive-through penalty will have to be served. Other cars getting warned. Black and white number 96, we know that. Black and white warning flag for exceeding track limits. That's the Lexus in 2nd place, of which I have just spoken. Kazunori Suinaga at the wheel of that. But this car, the 9, the Bingo Racing Corvette, will have to serve a drive-through penalty. When you get 2 warnings and then get a 3rd offence for track limits, that's when you get the black and white warning flag, and that tells you that's the point at which you have to rein it in a little bit. So there's our GTC class leader just ahead of the 2nd place car in the race, the number 96 K-Tune Racing Lexus, driven by Kazunori Suinaga in the 2nd part of this race. He's under no pressure. He's 40 seconds down in the race leading sister car from K-Tunes Racing. That's the number 98 Ferrari. And the GTC Ferrari just keeping out of the way. They're almost driving off the circuit, and it's going to need to keep out of the way because another Ferrari's coming through. This time the Comet Racing 296 GT3 in 3rd overall, and suddenly got this target. Didn't expect to have it. It's the 3rd car in the group, chasing the black and white car at the front of the group. The GTC Ferrari in between is an interloper. It's a lap down, and hopefully will be generous and leave the door open for this car to come through. No such luck for there, but when you're coming into the Casio Triangle, you don't have much of an option. You don't have wide lines you can take. GTC Ferrari now tucks to the right-hand side of the circuit to stay out of the way, but then he moves across the left, so that shoots it all down. But the Comet Racing Ferrari will blast down the start from straight. Shouldn't have any great particular performance advantage down the straight, but I think the number 16 Ferrari from SRO Motorsport running in GTC, the message got across: stay out of the way. This is a battle for 2nd place overall. Don't interrupt. Metronomic pace at the head of the field. From K-Tunes Racing 98 Ferrari, Daisuke Yamawaki lapping comfortably in the 2-minute 8s. Most of his rivals, actually a few of them a bit quicker. The Bingo Racing Corvette, this car was the fastest of all the cars on the track by about 1.5 seconds last time around, but it's a question of coming in to take that drive-through penalty. Slightly worried he's going to take another black and white liveried K-Tunes car off. That was the Toyota in GT4, that stayed out of its way. That's running last of all in the hands of Yoshihiko Nagai. But the Corvette is in a hurry, racing in a hurry. It's got that drive-through penalty to serve. And it hasn't served it within the allotted time, so now a black flag has been hung out. So no points from yesterday. That is not just unfortunate, it's unforced. When the penalty is issued, you know you have 3 laps in which to serve it. They've exceeded that time, and no advantage in doing so. Car diving into the pits ahead of it was the Sunrise Boulevard Porsche Cayman. That had been running in 4th position in GT4. But black flag Amy, while the black flag is being issued to the Bingo Racing Corvette, Amy is down with Shinichi Takagi at K-Tunes Racing. The clock is counting down. How's it feeling in the garage down there, Amy?
さあ高木選手、今シーズンでこのプロアマの K-Tunes バトルといいますか、昨日はもう追っての、一歩届かずだったんですけれども、今日はまたちぎってますね。
そうですね、今日はねポールポジションといういいポジションだったんで、そのまま、なんとかね先輩新田さんを、逃げ切りたいなと思ってて、それと、昨日のねペナルティーストップが10秒あったんで、その分もマージン作っておきたいなっていうのがあって、本当必死になって走りました。
では最後までね山脇選手見守りたいと思いますので頑張ってください。
そうですね、今日は優勝で終わりたいと思います。
またポディウムでお会いしましょう。はい、ありがとうございました。So because of the pole position start, they are having this big gap to the behind car, and he's very happy about this, and he's happy that today they will have to win, which they didn't get yesterday.
Yeah, it's been a really illustrious season. They didn't get the win yesterday, but every other result, they've had 2 second places in the opening 2 races at Sugo. Then they fought back and won both the races at Fuji. Second place yesterday, and what's surely going to be a win today with just 6 and a bit minutes remaining in this race. And an advantage of a mere 41.7 seconds over the sister car, the Lexus, also from K-Tunes Racing, driven currently by Kazunori Suinaga. That was the one that was hit and spun by the Bingo Racing Corvette. The Corvette did not come in, now has been given the black flag, so running around in 5th place is doing it no favours. And it continues round the circuit, in fact just now about to turn under the bridge, the second of the Degners. Right, GT4, victory in class by a small margin yesterday, but it looks like it's going to be another victory today, or is it? Because suddenly we've got to the number 50 BMW getting closer and closer from Wise Racing, and Yuki Fuji is proving a real star in this car. And he was very quick in the first half of yesterday's race. His teammate had a real tussle. Masaki Kano had a tussle, but young Fuji is catching. Look, half a second gained on lap 23. The lap before 1.1 seconds, the lap before another second. No wonder I thought it was almost done and dusted in GT4. I thought victory was going to go quite comfortably for the driver who's at the wheel at the moment of the Wakayama Toyota. That's Toshiyuki Ochai, but he's got a battle, so he doesn't really need too much of a rear view mirror. Let's see. In fact, actually on this lap, Ochai has responded, and maybe it was 3.9 seconds last time around. And Yuki Fuji, well, he's got the race leader, outright leader in behind him. That might lose him a bit of time, but that will pass both of them. It's a question of where it comes past, where you have to let it through. The answer in this case is on the exit of the hairpin. If there's good flag marshalling, they'd have been waving the blue flags to suggest something quicker was coming through. He'll have seen it now, and on the approach to Spoon Curve, tucks in behind. But Ochai has tried to respond, tried to keep his advantage about 4 seconds. If he can keep it there, he'll take victory for the second day running in GT4. There's our second place and our third place cars, but having got close to the second place Lexus, Yorikatsu Tsujiko doesn't look as though he's able to get any closer. If anything, he's fallen away a little bit. Here's second. Yeah, the first part of this lap has been much better for the Lexus. It was 0.8 of a second between them on the start-finish line, and it's going back the other way. So the gain that was happening, a little bit of traffic has hurt the Ferrari. With under 4 minutes remaining, surely Kazunori Suinaga can hold on to second place to add to yesterday's race victory. And to get second when you've been spun around by a rival and stuck for some while before rejoining shows just how dominant the K-Tunes Racing Ferrari, and in this case the K-Tunes Racing Lexus, are in the Japan Cup here at Suzuka. But who knows how the mix will be next time out at the end of August at Okayama International Raceway. So here is the lead battle in GT4. It looks as though it's settled. It looks as though Ochai in the number 38 Toyota from Wakayama Toyota, there it is, white with green and black flashes, has done enough. There's a charge from Yuki Fuji, but actually he lost a 1/10 or so of a second last time around. He's 4 seconds away. Maybe now he's just backing it out a little bit. D-Station Racing, their Aston Martin leading GT4 AM. So there's some consolation they couldn't race in GT3 this weekend because of car damage for a team that runs a lot of Aston Martins but didn't have enough fresh ones. So no GT3 for this pairing this weekend from D-Station Racing. That's Tatsuya Hoshino and Kenji Hama, but they had a GT4 vantage of 2024 vintage and said, well, let's bring that. Leading GT4 AM, so 4th overall in GT4, but leading the AM class. And really, there's never been any question in my mind which of the two entries in GTC was going to win, because the pace yesterday shown by SRO Motorsport, who just borrowed a Ferrari 488 challenge car to replace their regular Mercedes AMG GT4. Well, they've been right on it since they started, and there's been no response, no chance that Makoto Haga, there he is, would get close. Both running in GTC, but one is a Pro-Am lineup, and Haga, he is an AM. He doesn't have a teammate, so it's not AM, it's just AM. Right, Bingo Racing have finally responded to the black flag, and they've reported back to the pit lane. We've got just under 2 minutes remaining, so that's unfortunate for them, but a black flag is a black flag, and it wasn't attended to, so they have been disqualified. Which is a shame. Great looking car, was going well, but a little bit too much enthusiasm, making a move that was never really on. Certainly the race stewards agreed with my assessment. Looking to see any other, well, yes, team manager and drivers to report to the stewards after the race. That's car number 9, that's Bingo Racing. So it'll be a wrap on the knuckles, maybe a financial penalty as well. And the rules do have to be adhered to. So, just over a minute remains in this 1 hour race. The second place Lexus sweeps around onto the start-finish straight. Only still 2.6 seconds clear of the Comet Racing Ferrari, so lights ablaze for Yorikatsu Sujiko, but I don't think it's within his power. 2.6 seconds, he can't claw that back. But our race leader, comfortable margin. How comfortable is 46 seconds? Well, the simple answer is very comfortable indeed. And even when he backs it off, our race leader can stretch clear. Daisuke Yamawaki, K-Tunes Racing have got this 296 Ferrari, the GT3 version, going absolutely beautifully. Both Shinichi Takagi, who started it, and Daisuke Yamawaki, who's at the wheel at the moment, are completely on top of this. They've gathered poles for fun. They should have had the full set of 6 poles from 6 qualifying sessions, but an overtake under a yellow flag during qualifying had their time taken away. So they've still got that record, 5 out of 6 pole positions, but they are going to make it 3 out of 6 wins to add their 3 out of 6 second places, because the clock has got to the end. The race has very nearly got to the end. The Casio Triangle is being negotiated, nobody in sight, and it's a cakewalk today for Shinichi Takagi, who started it, and Daisuke Yamawaki, lights are flashing as he comes out of the final corner. Who finishes it? The checkered flag will fall. There it is, an easy win, a clear win. Started on pole, raced through to a large advantage, but certainly with the Morio Nitta Kazunori Suenaga Lexus, also from K-Tunes Racing, being given a spin that stretched its advantage. GT4 does go the way of the Wakayama Toyota crew, but not by a huge margin. He backed it off in the end, and Fujii got to just 2 seconds away. And here is the second place, K-Tunes Racing. Lexus rumbling its way through the chicane, still just enough an advantage to keep the Comet Racing Ferrari back in 3rd position behind it. So to race well, was losing the battle to the sister car, the 296 GT3, also from K-Tunes Racing. Had that battle with the Bingo Racing Corvette, looks like it got the job done and then was spun around, but did rejoin. Here we go, 4th place, Tadei Uematsu. So he's 2nd in GT3 AM, because the GT3 AM class was also the Comet Racing Ferrari, but GTC will be won by the driver that's going to come home in 7th place. It's this car, SRO Motorsport. Borrowed for this weekend, Ferrari 488 challenge car, and it proved itself a very useful tool indeed. There's the checkered flag, job well done. Started by Masataka Inoue, finished off by Kiwamu Katayama. But our race winners by a comfortable margin bring it home. The 98 K-Tunes Racing Ferrari, the 296 GT3 of Daisuke Yamawaki, who brought it home, and Shinichi Takagi, who led away from pole position and did not put a wheel wrong. So the last few cars, I think, in fact, all the cars have now taken the checkered flag. And we know the order. I can also tell you that GT3 AM was won by this car. That was the number 7 Comet Racing Ferrari. GTC by that Ferrari, the bright yellow one of SRO Motorsport. So last few cars coming home. There we are, GTC Pro-Am winner. There's the graphic bottom right of your screen. So SRO Motorsport thought their weekend had fallen apart, but certainly recovered very nicely indeed. And top in GT4, as I mentioned, was car number 38 again. That's the Silver Am class in GT4. 38 is the Wakayama Toyota. But here is our race winner, the K-Tunes Racing Ferrari, into the welcome shade of the pit lane and stopping just beneath the podium, but importantly going through the victory arch. Job well done, parking neatly in the pit lane, in victory lane. And as the pit entry klaxon rings out in the background, out climbs our winner, Daisuke Yamawaki, greeted by Shinichi Takagi. We heard from Shinichi a short while ago. 50 years old, loving his racing, and why not? Hot work, Ichiban, number 1. So it was hot work. The challenge went away from them, but really the K-Tunes Racing Ferrari crew had got this race under control. As I said, they've got had 2 second positions from the opening round, followed by 2 wins at Fuji, second place yesterday by a very small margin, but victory today by a country mile. Yeah, happy world in GT4. That's Wakayama Toyota. So Takeshi Suehiro started, Toshiyuki Ochiai finished the job. They're enjoying their racing big time. That's the GT4 Silver Am class. And the pit crew, family members are down there, and also down there is Amy. She's with the winners, with Daisuke Yamawaki and Shinichi Takagi.
はい、こちらですね、ポールトゥウィン、今シーズン6戦中3戦制しました。おめでとうございます。山脇選手、クルージングって言うんですよ、これ。
クルージングではなくて、ちょっとスイッチが一部誤った場所に入ってですね、なんか高木さんの時からそうだったんです。いや違う。なんかちょっとエンジンがゆっくりになるボタンに入ってて、なのではい、ちょっとそれがゆえにクルージングという感じになってたらしいです。
いやでも後ろにですね、もう50秒近くちぎって、はい、走ってました。
よかったです。しました。
今年の夏はぜひクルージングにこれを期して行ってください。
はい、わかりました。ありがとうございます。
改めておめでとうございます。高木選手、ポールトゥウィン行けましたね。おめでとうございます。
はい、ありがとうございます。まあ無事に走ってくれて、まあで2位争いがねちょっとまあトラブルがあったんで、まあその分マージンが得てね、山脇さんは汗もかかずにレースできたんじゃないかなと思います。
書いちゃいました。
書いてるね。
熱い。
改めましておめでとうございました。So apparently Yamawaki had an issue with some button he switched, which he shouldn't have. But as you can see, he's sweating a lot. But he does not see it as cruising. So, but still, he's very happy about his win. Takagi as well. He's very happy about the 3rd win this season. And yeah, they will party hard, I guess.
Let's hope so. Amy, no driver likes to be told they've been cruising. They were, let's replace the word with driving beautifully, and a clear victory. As we can see, Daisuke Yamawaki, who brought it home, Shinichi Takagi, who started it. Clear victory in their K-Tunes Racing Ferrari. The margin bigger than it would have been because Morio Nitta and Kazunori Suinaga's K-Tunes Racing Lexus was spun around, took a while to rejoin, but just managed to come home clear of the Comet Racing Ferrari to take 2nd overall. So good run for them. GT3 AM won by the crew in third place overall, that Comet Racing Ferrari. GTC was won by SRO Motorsport, coming home in 6th position overall, just being lapped before the end. That was Masataka Inoue and Kiwamu Katayama. Japan GTC AM class went to Makoto Haga. He was down in 8th position overall, and in GT4 he was ahead of them, and that class was led at the end in Silver Am by Suehiro and Ochiai, who really clearly enjoyed their run in the Wakayama Toyota. And let's go down to join Amy with our GT4 winners. We've just mentioned their names. It's Wakayama Toyota, the crew with Amy.
はい、で今週末ね2回目の優勝ということで、本日はポールトゥウィン達成しました。おめでとうございます。落合選手、暑かったですけれども素晴らしい走りでした。
はい、涼しかったですか？汗だくやけど。いや、はい、でも結構楽させてもらいましたね。レース1よりかは、はい、良かったです。
おめでとうございます。末広選手、ちぎって帰ってきましたけど。
そうですね。もう今日やっぱタイムペナルティ15秒があるので、それをこう跳ね返すぐらいのギャップを作って帰らないと勝てないと思ってたんで、目標が達成できて安心してます。はい。
お二人の猛プッシュかっこよかったです。改めましておめでとうございました。So yes, he is very happy that Suehiro did his job and got a good margin. And he asked, was it really that hot? But no, joking, he is sweating a lot. And Suehiro Senshu, he did try to really get a margin, and so he's very happy about his job this weekend.
Thanks, Amy. Well, it's been a phenomenal job. 2 starts for them in the Japan Cup here at Suzuka, and 2 victories today by even more of a margin. But let's look back at the highlights of this 1 hour, the second Japan Cup race here at Suzuka. At the start, it was Takagi on the left of the screen in the Ferrari. Got a really clear start. Morio Nitta tucked in behind in the sister car, albeit a Lexus behind the Ferrari. And then the Bingo Racing Corvette holding on to third place. Matoki being quite tough into the first corner, cutting across the nose of Yamasaki in the Comet Racing Ferrari. And they started to pull a little bit clear, the K-Tunes cars. The Ferrari ahead of the Lexus, building an advantage. GTC was being led by the SRO Motorsport, the bright yellow Ferrari, in 7th place overall. But this wasn't how the order changed, because it was going to keep on changing. Tadeu Uematsu decided he was going to get a move on his McLaren, and he got up into 4th place ahead of the Comet Racing Ferrari. The run-up sports Nissan was having a far better run today and kept right on the tail of that Ferrari up to the pit stops, with that Sushi Tanaka going very well. Bingo Racing Corvette came in for its pit stop, so too did the Comet Racing Ferrari. How were they going to go back into the race? Where would they slot in? No such questions needed to be answered for the number 98 Ferrari from K-Tunes Racing. Brilliant opening stint from Shinichi Takagi. Daisuke Yamawaki got on board. But then this was the battle for second place, and it all went a little bit wrong, because diving one way, going the other, then spinning poor old Kazunori Suenaga around and into the gravel was the Bingo Racing Corvette. Here's the view from on board. I'm afraid the stewards probably didn't have to think too long about that one, and eventually a drive-through was to be served for them, but they didn't come in and they were disqualified. They ignored the flag, but no flag worries at all. Only the black and white one would do. The checkered flag for the race-winning K-Tunes Racing Ferrari team of Daisuke Yamawaki, who brought it home, and Shinichi Takagi, who leans on the bonnet, pats the windscreens and thumbs up. Fantastic job from the duo. They are really the form team in the Japan Cup. So the podium ceremonies as fast as the racing already happening out there, and the Comet Racing crew, 3rd overall out there. The Ferrari crew, Yusuke Yamasaki, Yorikatsu Sujiko, 2nd place to Morio Nitta and Kazunori Suenaga, the number 96 Lexus crew from K-Tunes Racing, but also from K-Tunes Racing, the Ferrari crew of Daisuke Yamawaki and Shinichi Takagi onto the top step of the podium. And again, the podium ceremonies. Yotaru Ikuta, Executive Director of Dixel. Handing out the 3rd place trophy to Comet Racing, and we'll see that duo again, because they also, in 3rd place overall, they won the GT3 AM class. So going very well for Comet Racing with their Ferrari. But the biggest trophies, the brightest trophies, to the winners, to the K-Tunes Racing duo of Shinichi Takagi on the right and Daisuke Yamawaki on the left of the podium. and their Lexus teammates from K-Tunes Racing joining them, and Comet Racing up on the podium. Ferrari, Lexus, Ferrari was the winning order. That's the top 3 overall in the Japan Cup, race 2 of the Japan Cup here at Suzuka. Photos taken. The Lion seems happy enough, and will keep out the way when the champagne gets sprayed, I'm sure of that. As Amy Izawa calls the champagne to be sprayed. The weekend is over for now. The next round of the Japan Cup is 23rd to 25th of August at Okayama International Circuit. The smiles are widest on the face of Shinichi Takagi, race winner in that K-Tunes Racing Ferrari. It's been a hot weekend, but for the crews that have put points in the bank, a very happy weekend indeed. So let's take a look at the results. Confirmation, K-Tunes Racing, their victory today has stretched their points advantage out to a very tidy 36 points over their teammates who drive the Lexus, Suenaga and Nitta, who in turn are 9 points clear of the driver who races all on his own, his team Machina McLaren. That's Tadeo Uematsu. Shinji Takai, Bingo Racing, didn't gather any points this weekend at all, retired from yesterday's race, and today the Bingo Racing Corvette was disqualified, but advantage stretching for the K-Tunes Racing Ferrari duo of Yamawaki and Takagi. Now we await the second podium. This is also for GT3 runners, but for the AM class. And Run-Up Sports will be coming up for third place in GT3 AM. That's the Nissan Nismo crew of Masaki Nishikawa and Atsushi Tanaka. Good to see their own fan club down below the podium. And second place in class, Team Machina, Tadeo Uematsu, racing solo in his McLaren. Good weekend for him, particularly yesterday's race when he was really, really impressive. And to the top step, we've seen them once, we'll see them twice. It's Comet Racing's duo, the Ferrari racers, Yusuke Yamasaki and Yorikatsu Tsujiko. Good weekend for them. They had their mishaps in qualifying, but they got it right come the racing. So that's 2 class wins in 2 starts here for them in GT3 AM. Suzuka's been kind to them, they've been good to Suzuka. So GT3 AM top 3, but with the winners, the Comet Racing crew on the top step. Yusuke Yamasaki and Yorikatsu Tsujiko. 2 victories for them in GT3 AM, both with third place finishes. It's been good for them at Suzuka. Well, the Lion's happy. He's got 2 more podiums coming his way. In fact, I tell you what, he's got 3 more podiums. He'll be very happy. So Tadeo Uematsu briefly on the top step of the podium for the photo and for the champagne spraying, but second in the GT3 AM class. And let's see what it means. Today's victory surely will stretch the advantage of the Comet Racing Ferrari crew. Let's take a look at the table. Team Machina, though, racing on its own, no mishaps, is still top of the table, but Comet Racing are closing in. So that's second place in class today, on the back of other solid finishes. Tadeo Uematsu keeps them at the top of the table, but Comet Racing, making up for early season mishaps, are now starting to close in, down by just 17 points. But then a big margin back to third place, which is Atsushi Tanaka and Masashi Nishikawa, who run the Run-Up Sports Nissan and were third in class today. A subclass within the top category, which is GT3. That's it from Japan Cup. Next time they'll go out to play is the end of August at Okayama in the west of Japan. So from me, Bruce Jones, that's all the action in Japan Cup here at Suzuka. So back we go, more podium time. This is GT4 Silver Am. So third place overall is the number 39 crew. That's Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia, Haridama Manopo and Seita Nonaka. Second place goes to the number 50 crew, the BMW Wise Racing crew of Yuki Fuji and Masaki Kano. But the top step, they've been sensational all weekend. Wakayama Toyota's duo, the Toyota racers Toshiyuki Ochiai and Takeshi Suehiro. Job very well done. And clearly very well enjoyed as well, which is a great thing to see. Some fun to be had. You don't go racing to be glum. Again, the trophy's handed out. The Lion apparently not as happy as I thought, and if he gets another soaking with champagne, someone's got a price to pay. I feel, look at those fangs. So drivers together, Lion tentatively standing in front of them. But the GT4 Silver Am winners, what a weekend they've had here at Suzuka. Wakayama Toyota, run by Hojust Racing, Toshiyuki Ochai and Takeshi Suehiro, really finding some rich form in the Japan Cup. And indicated it's time to spray the champagne. Give the Lion a thought. Great to see such fun on the podium. So just to reiterate, in Japan Cup we've got the GT3 classes, we've got the GT4 classes and GTC as well. We'll come to that a little bit later. The next podium, the fourth of the 5 podiums for Japan Cup, will be for the GT4 AM runners. That will be providing Wakayama Racing vacate the podium. So let's have a look at the GT4 Silver Am points. What does this victory mean? Well, on top, Wakayama Toyota, just Takeshi Suehiro, because the teammate hasn't done all the rounds. Haridama Manopo, second for Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia. 2 third places for him this weekend. Then Wise Racing just 1 point behind. Look, it's only 7 points covering the top 3 crews. Yuki Fuji and Masaki Kano in third place with their BMW. Sunrise Boulevard not exactly out of touch either. They are Yoshitomo Makino and Daiki Fujiwara. They're running their Porsche. They're in touch with that final 2 races to come at Okayama. So we continue in the GT4 vein. And second place, in fact, we only had two cars running in this class. It's second place in class, car number 64. It's the Japanese bronze racing duo, the McLaren drivers Miyu Katayama and Hiro, fresh off learning their racing on a simulator, but to the top step, D-Station Racing with their Aston Martin. Weren't expecting to be entered in this class this weekend, ran out of GT3 advantages and brought their GT4 one. And so that's Tatsuya Hoshino and Kenji Hama on the top step. Again, the presentations from Dixell, so for D-Station Racing, they've got plenty of trophies in their cabinets, but here are 2 more. And again, well done to the JBR crew. Drivers who learned their form on Tomonobu Fuji's amazing simulator in Tokyo. When he decides these club members are good enough, he gets them out on the circuit, and here they come for their first racing experience, and they've kept out of trouble, and they'll be very proud with what they've learnt this weekend. To give them another name check, that's Hiro and Miyu Katayama. But the winners in class, D-Station Racing, Tatsuya Hoshino and fellow Aston Martin racer Kenji Hama. Penultimate chance for the Lion to get a spray of champagne to make it feel wet, sticky, maybe hot and bothered with all that gear, but Tatsuya Hoshino getting a face full of champagne in time-honoured fashion. And one thing you certainly can't learn about on a race simulator is how to handle champagne with a lion at your feet. But well done to the crews, the last few people, the last few fans and team members waiting below for the final podium ceremony. But let's have a look at the points in GT4. AMSA Motorsport leading the way, but those drivers at the very top were the ones that weren't here this weekend. They started the season, and that was in their Mercedes, but AMSA Motorsport this weekend were racing in GTC instead. But Takashi Toyoda and Kiwamu Katayama, Atsushi Ando and another JBR racer, Kondo, are in the mix. But really it's Takashi Toyoda leading the way for AMSA Motorsport. He'll be back at a later weekend. And finally, the last podium of the weekend in the Japan Cup. The number 83 crew scurry across the podium. That's Makoto Haga, and he's brought a team member with him. He's ran the Gamma 83 Racing Porsche, but winning the class, the Pro-Am pairing from AMSA Motorsport. Didn't expect to be racing a Ferrari this weekend. The car was damaged. They brought their 488 Challenge Ferrari here, and Kiwamu Katayama and Masataka Inoue on the top step. So hold on, don't open your bottles of champagne yet. The presentation's to be made. So for AMSA Motorsport this weekend, something different, but the 488 Challenge Ferrari, bright yellow it was, and very quick too. And indeed, actually ended up in 6th place overall. That was very good as Katayama brought that home. And the other car in GTC, run solo by Makoto Haga. He finished in 8th. And in fact, will be promoted to 7th because of the disqualification of the Bingo Racing Corvette. But there they are. They've had a good run. They sort of lie between GT3 and GT4. But again, it's great to have these cars that can compete in the Porsche Challenge Series, the Ferrari Challenge Series. And I'm sure this will be a number that grows in the seasons ahead. Japan Cup running its first season as a solo, a freestanding championship. And I think they're really enjoying the experience. So the champagne is coming. And all drivers here will be thinking of what lies ahead. And I tell you the answer to that. What lies ahead is going at the end of August to Okayama. Very different circuit, but the drivers are finding their form, finding their feet and getting faster as the season unfolds. So it's been great fun for the Japan Cup here at Suzuka. It's almost over and out, but a lot of experiences gained and a lot of smiles to be had. And they're enjoying every last second up on the podium. That's it, and it's goodbye from me, Bruce Jones.